Welcome back after a very short break, and now it's my pleasure to introduce the pitch of 7 companies. 7 companies that we have supported through a variety of different programs. That also gives you a bit of feeling of the different things that we do. So we will see DOTLUMEN, AZmed, Advosense, InCephalo, Brain Plus, Neurocast, and Apptrace this afternoon. We will start with DOTLUMEN. Every company has 5 minutes to pitch, and then a potential very quick 2 minutes Q&A. If you would like to ask any questions, then please submit them via the chat. The SAX team will forward them to me so that I can ask the questions right after the pitch. We will have time for 1 or 2 questions maximum. But for now, I think it's great time to listen to the startups, and please don't miss the opportunity to get in touch with those entrepreneurs in the one-on-one matchmakings. Let's get started with Cornell and DOTLUMEN. So DOTLUMEN is building glasses that empower the blind to live a better life. They have been founded quite recently, actually in 2020. So not an old company, 2020. They're coming from Romania and are presented by Cornell, who is founder and CEO. They have been supported in 2020, in the year of their registration, by our Head Start program. So they received 50,000 euro from EIT Health to take off. And I'm very much looking forward to the pitch of Cornell. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Kurt. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Cornell, I'm the CEO and founder of Lumen, and I was born in a family where both of my parents have locomotive disabilities. Growing up, I understood how much assistive technology can help, but also at the same time, how little is being done. Next slide. When you talk about blindness, you have 40 million people blind now and increasing to over 100 million by 2050. And there are some solutions to some of their challenges, but when it comes to mobility, you only have 2 solutions, and they're thousands of years old: the white cane and the guide dog. Now, the guide dog by its features is unanimously seen as a great solution, but it has a few drawbacks. To train a guide dog, it can reach $60,000, and to take care of a guide dog is simply too complicated for a blind person. Because of this, in the world, you only have 28,000 guide dogs to 40 million blind people. Simply put, it is not a scalable solution. Next slide. And this is where we come in. We create glasses that replicate the main features of a guide dog, but without the drawbacks that make it non-scalable. So basically, we use the latest in autonomous driving, robotics, and artificial intelligence to do what the guide dog does, but without pulling the hinges like a guide dog. Because if you have a guide dog, you can ask it to take you to the door or to take you to the chair, etc., and it will pull your hand, avoiding you from obstacles, etc. You can say the same thing to the Lumen glasses, and they will do the same, but by pulling your head, our patented feedback technology, not by pulling your hand. Next slide. Now, this is what our testers are saying. I expected something like this to be possible, but not during our lifetime. And this is just one of our over 200 blind testers we're testing with. We are working with over 600 blind individuals in order to better understand the problems that they face. And our feedback technology is absolutely incredible. It takes on average less than 5 minutes for a blind person from the time they test the first time up until they're able to be guided by the system through an open door without touching the sides. Immensely intuitive. Next slide. Now, the blind face several challenges, and there are some solutions for them. For example, reading is a challenge. There are some solutions for that. We also do it, not a differentiator, just a feature which we provide. But to understand the environment around, which is a feature which the blind require, there's not really an intuitive way of doing it. We found a much simpler and better version of explaining the environment. But the really advanced things are things such as guidance. To be able to guide a person is something that only a guide dog or a human companion can do today. And for the first time, a scalable technology which we build. But the last level, guided navigation, even a guide dog can't take you to a new place you've never been before, and usually requires something like a navigation app and then the guide dog together. It's a cumbersome process. This is the first time when a single solution can do that, and all of these are done at a price which is equal to what other assistive technologies are priced at. Next slide. Our business model, we are going to be a B2B2C and B2G company. We're selling to our partner network. Our partner network is made of blind associations and assistive technology dealerships. They are the ones which know how to sell, how to market, and how to train blind people. We have identified over 540 such potential partners. We expect by 2025 to sell over 100,000 units and to surpass the 200 million net revenue. And we already have 3 products pipeline for the next years, with the first one coming next. We got an immense level of recognition for our work, working with some of the best companies over here and winning some absolutely amazing awards. Next slide. We have raised $15 million, part of it from EIT and part from recent investments we got from private equity. We are the first Romanian company to win at EIT. And finally, the last slide. We are quite a few people now, but we're actually hiring over 30 to 40 people. We just moved to a new headquarters. Myself, I'm coming from the automotive field, where I previously was head of innovation in one of the largest companies in the automotive field. And one of my co-founders, Mihai, he founded some of the largest startups in actually in the history of Romania. This is us quickly. This is Lumen. We just raised a significant amount of money. We're growing the company, and we're looking for partners to do piloting with blind individuals and to do market entry in the following year on multiple continents. Thank you. Questions, and sorry for the internet troubles.
Thank you so much, Cornel, for a great presentation, and it's amazing to see that basically our strategy to support companies from the risk regions, and you're certainly one of those companies identified through InnoStars, are able to take off immediately and very quickly. So your success in EIC is really impressive. So happy to have you on board. Just allow me one quick question. It's not an investor question, just out of curiosity. How heavy is the device? How long can you wear it?
Sure. So we had people wearing it for 4 hours. Right now, the weight is roughly around 600 to 700 grams. We are targeting around that. It's actually not about the weight, but it's about the weight balance. A motorcycle helmet can be over 1 kilogram and is still comfortable. It depends how well you can balance the weight on your head. And now it's something which we're improving in this iteration.
And even giving a blind person vision back for 2 hours is already really an amazing advance.
We are regaining mobility, not vision. We're using the other senses in order to offer mobility. But yes, the main purpose of vision is regarding mobility and information passing. So somehow we are regaining part of that. Right.
So getting people back on streets, or getting out of their room. Thank you so much. Was a great presentation, Cornel. Let's proceed with AZmed from Julien Vidal. He is CEO. It's a French company founded with the aim of improving patient care in emergency and radiology departments. First solution developed is a computer-aided diagnosis tool able to detect all types of fractures and chest abnormalities on standard X-rays. You have been founded in 2018, so 2 years more than DOTLUMEN. Currently, you are in the health catapult as one of the 3 finalists in the digital health category. So good luck on your pitch in Stockholm. But before that, we will hear your pitch now. The floor is yours, Julien.
Thank you very much, and hi everyone. So my name is Julien Vidal. I'm CEO and co-founder of AZmed, and basically the problem we solve could be summed up in one graph on the next slide, which is the amount of medical images that has surged by 100% just during the last decade, while the number of doctors able to analyze all this information has stagnated. So firstly, on the one hand, it seems complicated to limit the number of images produced because the world population gets older and bigger. And secondly, it takes 15 years to train a radiologist, and there's no sign we'll train more in the years to come. So next slide, how can we close this gap? Well, usually a radiologist sees something like this to diagnose a patient. At AZmed, we make sure he sees something like this on the next slide. So the goal of the solutions we develop is that the radiologist can go faster and be more accurate thanks to Revolve. So on the next slide, Revolve is detecting any fracture on lung or cardiac abnormalities on X-rays, which means 80% of the daily volume of X-ray produced. and it has concrete ROIs because clinical studies show that radiologists gain 36% of time and 20% of sensitivity. So next slide. Many companies try to tackle this issue, but the problem is that big players on the left, they are not AI specialists. So next slide. They partner with companies like us, as we already did with most of them. We now have distribution agreements and integration deals with 2/3 of the market. And you also have startups on the other side. Their problem is that they deeply struggle to penetrate this market and to find the right entry point to develop at scale their technology. So at AZmed, we couldn't take this market faster, and I will show you how on the next slide. In 1.5 years, we've put AI into the hands of thousands of radiologists all around the world. We are used by 250 hospitals, but also radiology centers and clinics, and we are used now in 17 different countries. And with our subscription model, we've managed to generate an 80% quarterly growth since our launch. And we did all of that with a very limited sales force, and we raised less than 4 million euros so far. So I'll spend the last minutes to show you how we took this market. So next slide. And for that, let's take an example. So to provide an AI solution to the 3 different hospitals here, a normal AI company would use a data set to train a single algorithm and would put it in production. But problem is here, the performances of this algorithm could be tremendously different from one client to another, depending on the machines they use, the patients they treat, or the habits they have. So if you go on the next slide, at AZmed, we do it a bit differently. We gathered 7 million X-rays, not to build one single algorithm, but hundreds of them. And then our job is to match the best algorithms for the environment of each hospital. And the best part on that is that we automated most of this process. So next slide. So fast go-to-market, and this automatic customization allow us now to have a conversion rate above 90%. And all of that gives us the ambition to increase even more our resources and to triple our yearly revenues in years to come. So we always propose a free trial period to take the market as fast as possible. And we take the market also thanks to that and thanks to the legal barriers we passed on the next slide, because we have been the very first solution to be CE marked in its category and also to obtain the Health Canada certification. And we don't have the FDA yet, but we are 80% there also to become the very first company to commercialize such a product overseas. And most of all, we take this market thanks to our team on the next slide. Eli, our doctor, has spent more than 9 years in hospitals facing all the issues we're solving. And Alex, our mathematician, already applied AI to breast cancer detection and to cardiac MRI. So now we have 25 deep learning researchers, software engineers, healthcare professionals from the very best schools who have joined us. And to finish on the last slides, here are our 3 main goals for the next 12 months. First one, overcome the barriers to entry in new regions in the US, to triple our yearly signed ARR, and to complete our X-ray offer and to be able to pass from 80% of the X-rays analyzed on a daily basis from 90% before moving on to something else. So thank you very much for listening to me. And if you are here today, it's because we are looking for new partners and also to talk to new investors, be able to understand exactly how they see the market now. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Julien. Very impressive. Very, very great to listen to your pitch, and wish you, of course, also all the best for the Health Catapult. Just a quick question. We did a study as EIT Health. We did a study in the survey with regards to AI in healthcare. And there we identified, in order to be reliable, so that people really trust AI and the algorithms, they have to be legal, they have to be ethically compliant, and they have to be robust. I have no doubts about ethical and legal compliance, but how do you deal with the request of really having robust results so that people can trust them?
Exactly. So that's what I was trying to explain on the way we develop the models. We match every AI model with the environment center and with every different country. And we managed to do that since 3 years now and to automate most of this process. So we don't have like one single algorithm deploying everywhere, but we really adapt and customize the process everywhere so that we have the same performances and we don't depend on the environment and the specificity of each center.
Thank you. Oh, that's a very smart approach to not catch all with one model, but really, really ensure that the model fits the ecosystem and the data framework that you're working within. Very good. Thank you so much. Thanks, Julian. Now we are coming to Germany with Advosense. Martina is co-founder and CEO of Advosense. They are committed to transforming geriatric care, starting with incontinence management. Certainly a very important topic. You guys have been created in 2020, so also kind of during the pandemics or right at the beginning, I don't know, but the last 2 years have been certainly quite demanding and challenging for you. And you also have received Head Start 2020 funding, so very much looking forward now to see the result of your current work. Martina, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon. You can move to the next slide. Meet Ilya. Ilya is my grandfather, and he suffered from early onset dementia and just passed away just this past December. Ilya also suffered from urinary incontinence, and it was my grandmother who took care of him for the last 20 years, cleaning and changing his briefs until she could no longer manage. In November, heartbroken, he moved into a nursing home. Unfortunately, at the nursing home, his continence was not managed any better, and he sat in wet briefs for hours, developing a urinary tract infection. My name is Martina, and I'm a registered nurse, and I have been managing patients with incontinence just like my grandfather. I've also been struggling to provide quality incontinence care that my patients deserve. I'm busy, I have to prioritize, I don't know when my patients are wet, and sometimes I even forget. I don't have enough resources and tools to manage their care, and they're suffering because of this. Next slide. This is not only my problem. Over 7 out of 10 nursing home residents suffer from urinary incontinence, and they're developing serious complications such as pressure ulcers, falls, and urinary tract infections. And the worst part is that these are preventable. Us nurses, we know we're not managing incontinence with best practice, and we're struggling to provide quality care. We don't have enough resources or even enough nurses to support this. And with the effects of COVID-19, so many of my colleagues are leaving the bedside. The organizations, they have limited resources to help us manage this care, and they're absorbing the costs of this ineffective management, spending over $22 billion a year just to care for them alone. And this does not include the burden of malpractice that comes along with these acquired affections. Next slide. So that's why I'm here today. Advosense is committed to transforming geriatric care, and we're starting with incontinence. And we're using innovative technology to empower clinicians to know when, where, and how to best respond to their patients' needs. Next slide. And how are we doing so? So since the beginning, we've worked with 60 plus clinicians to develop our patented solution, the Census system. We're using off-the-shelf technology, which is a disposable sticker sensor that can be applied to any incontinence brief, along with a bedside reader and a web application, which sends the real-time notifications to the nurses that their patient is wet. Next slide. The Census system streamlines incontinence care. It makes it easier and efficient, removing a lot of the waste, lowering costs, and ultimately improving this care. Next slide. Early clinical trials from the industry are showing really impressive results. So by using these digital incontinence solutions, we're seeing reduction to skin exposure to moisture from over 2 hours down to 20 minutes, and a significant reduction in costs due to material spending. Next slide. Nothing on the market compares to our patented solution. So beside the traditional briefs, we're seeing reusable, battery-powered, expensive sensors. And our users, the nurses, they see these solutions as hindering their care and they just don't want to use it. That's why we're working with the clinicians and have co-created a disposable sensor that they would love to use and that easily integrates into their workflow. Next slide. In our target markets of North America, EU, Australia, and Japan, where we have nationalized our patents, we see a significant market opportunity. And in the US alone, capturing 8.3 billion, and this is estimating at 10%. Next slide. By using the census system, hospitals and nursing homes can save significant costs. So when you're taking an average 58-bed facility, they can expect an annual savings of 1.2 million per year. Next slide. We have outlined a 3-step commercialization path. So right now we're starting with our co-creation with stakeholders in North America and EU, and with direct sales, beginning with one of the largest health systems in the US as our first pilot customers. And in the short to mid-term, we're moving on to contracts with suppliers and GPOs, and we've already engaged with one of the largest GPOs in the US and the largest suppliers and manufacturers of medical supplies globally. Long-term, we look towards reimbursement and also key partnerships for large-scale market growth. Next slide. Currently, as mentioned, our validation and testing in multiple markets is underway. We're busy with our clinical feasibility study in Montreal with our research partners at McGill University. Next slide. And we are supported by a brilliant team of advisors and looking to expand our expertise and build a strong Advosense community as we grow. Next slide. Of course, I can't do this alone. So we have Erin, a former management consultant and health management, health systems expert, and Florian, a systems engineer bringing medical devices to market. Next slide. And currently we are raising our pre-seed round. We've secured funding from industry leaders and fellow entrepreneurs and are looking for the remainder to reach our next milestones to bring the product to market. Next slide, please. So thank you, and please join us and help keep our patients dry. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Martina. Very impressive, and indeed, I think a good solution for an existing problem. You pointed out in your previous slides the current investment plan. Could you maybe elaborate a bit more on what people can expect from you for the midterm future? So your earlier stage, you have been just created, so you want to take the next steps, raising this round. What's your plans for the future?
Yeah, exactly. So currently with the current round, we've nationalized our patents, and now we're looking to commercialize the device. So we are starting with Health Canada regulation in order to conduct the feasibility study, and then moving to the US and getting ready for commercialization for our pilot studies to begin towards Q4 of this year. And our funding milestones are going along with that before we look to secure our price round at a higher valuation.
Super. Thank you so much, Martina, and wish you all the best. Good luck, and hope to see you soon. Thank you. With that, we will proceed to the next company, InCephalo. And Carlo, I have met Carlo already in our Gold Track program, where he was supported. I mentioned that in the previous session, where he was supported by a super strong team from the US, Cambridge and Boston area, as well as our European colleagues from EIT Health to take next steps. It's a pretty strong company with a focus on developing antibodies and other biological treatments for the local treatment of CNS, central nervous system cancers. And they have a preclinical candidate for glioblastoma, which is an aggressive brain tumor. And they received EMA orphan designation and is currently establishing a pipeline of new drug candidates. You guys have been founded in 2021. That's really recently. I mean, you have put a lot of time into that before, but you have been officially founded quite recently. And you're located in Switzerland. So Carlo, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Kurt. And yes, it's true. EIT Health Gold Track has been very transformative in how the company has formed and evolved since. So again, hi, I'm Carlo. And well, InCephalo, 7 co-founders actually got together with one vision, making a difference in brain cancer patients. All of us experienced firsthand what it means if someone close to you gets diagnosed with such terrible disease. Maybe next step, I would like to show you the team. The core team, that's myself, an experienced biotech entrepreneur, and Johannes Vomberg, a preclinical expert for brain cancer disease. We're humbled to share that already now we're able to put a dream team of experts together, world-renowned neurosurgeons, neuro-oncologists, preclinical experts, clinical experts, regulatory experts, CNS drug delivery experts, basically all necessary know-how that we need to bring our drugs into the clinic and through clinical trials. Next slide, please. When we talk about brain cancer, there's a biological challenge to treat the brain cancer, but at the same time, there's a technical challenge. And this is particularly true when we talk about biologics, very promising anti-cancer drugs that have been used in solid tumors, among others. But unfortunately, it's extremely difficult to get these drugs into the brain and for these drugs to remain in the brain. Let me visualize that. If you put an IV infusion anti-cancer antibody into your body, 99.9% remains in the systemic compartment. 0.1% gets into the brain, close to the brain tumor. That's why neurosurgeons have started to directly inject into the brain tumor biological drugs. But these drugs are not designed for the brain. They start leaking and start accumulating in the body. And very often, the use of steroids have been used. And that's basically limiting the effect, in particularly for immuno-oncology drugs. Next slide, please. And this is where ENCephalo comes in. Tailor-made biological drugs for the treatment of brain cancer with biological drugs. Our molecules are designed with something we call a compartment lock, or C-lock in short. The molecules, once locally applied directly into the brain tumor, remain in the brain, and once they leave the brain, they're very rapidly degraded, all with the idea of creating a significant therapeutic window, a reasonable therapeutic window to treat these terrible diseases. Next slide, please. Brain cancers are almost incurable diseases. We're talking here about primary brain cancer, like Kurt was mentioning, glioblastoma, but also secondary brain cancers, like cancers that emerge from lung or breast cancers, or leptomeningeal diseases. Hundreds of thousands of patients each year are diagnosed with these terrible diseases. And in the last 20 years, only limited success has there been in regards to drug development. Our lead candidate, which is an IL-12, is a strong immuno-oncology drug with severe, deadly side effects that shows very promising clinical results in solid tumors, non-CNS tumors. Next slide, please. Our molecule that has received EMA orphan designation, as Kurt mentioned, shows the following properties. On the left-hand side, in our preclinical humanized mice model, we could show that the compartment lock is truly there. Once the molecule is injected into the mice brain, it remains in the brain and is virtually, even at high concentrations, not present in the body. And why is this important? Clinical trials of IL-12, which have been used for brain cancer patients, one of the limiting steps is that IL-12 is leaking to the systemic compartment and steroids had to be used. For an immuno-oncology drug, this is not something where you would like to go. Nevertheless, I mean, better tolerability, better compliance is one thing, but what about, does it work? What about efficacy? We have used mice models, but also human brain tumor tissue to evaluate our molecule. We see very strong response rate, but also overall survival in our mice model. And even more promising, it looks in our preclinical models that it works synergistically with commercially available anti-cancer drugs, boosting overall survival in mice, but also in human brain tumor tissue. Next slide, please. With this, I would like to close our pitch. I would like in particularly to thank EIT Health, which has been tremendous of making and forming our company, making us ready for our next phase in our upcoming Series A by the end of the year. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Carlo, for an impressive pitch and also to the second. Very, very good. Just a quick question. You mentioned the Gold Track. What was the most important lesson you learned working with the Gold Track team?
Let's say, maybe fun fact, letting go. I mean, very often as an entrepreneur, you don't get challenged on your vision. I mean, a lot of people tell you, man, maybe you shouldn't go. But Goldtruck really allowed us to go away from our tunnel vision of just focusing and moving forward, to take a step back, reflect, look at our lead molecule, look at our technology from 360 degrees, and now really forming a value creation that is reasonable. Well, that makes a difference, not only for patients, but also for investors. So really company creation, I would say.
Thank you, Carlo. Indeed, that's super important and harder than most of the other things that you tackle in your daily business as an entrepreneur. Thank you so much, and wish you all the best. Good luck, and hope to see you soon. Then let's proceed. Now going to Denmark. Kim is presenting Brain Plus, and they develop digital therapeutics for the detection and treatment of dementia. They work together with leading researchers and clinicians in dementia to develop clinically validated software as a medical device product that they expect to be reimbursed by healthcare systems and insurance providers, with first launch targets in Denmark and Germany. You guys have been founded already in 2014, basically the oldest company pitching today. But I think the topic of digital therapeutics is now a super important and super relevant one. So very much looking forward to your pitch.
Thank you. Great, but you can skip to the next slide. Hello, everyone. My name is Christensen, CEO and co-founder of Brain Plus. So everybody, unfortunately, knows somebody with dementia today. It's really a crippling condition for the person who has it and for their family members and for the healthcare systems. Within a couple of decades, the healthcare cost of dementia will be in excess of $2 trillion. That's twice the amount of budget spent in the entire EU on healthcare today. So a huge burden. Next slide. So our mission at Brain Plus, next slide, please, is to, okay, it was just a bit slow. So you can take one slide back. Is to make effective and life-changing dementia treatments available to everyone as digital medicine. Next slide. And the way we do this is by digitizing some of the best-in-class non-drug dementia therapies and making them available to people in their homes or at the clinic. And we operate like a digital biotech company. So digital therapeutics is another name for this industry, where products are rigorously tested in clinical trials. They're going through a regulation process to be medical device products, and eventually they are reimbursed by the healthcare systems that they're operating in. And when we're talking about therapies, we mean when people actually do something active, they're engaging either with a program or with another person, and it creates measurable health effects on par with that what we see in drugs. Next slide, please. So our primary product that we'll be bringing to market first is cognitive stimulation therapy. It is a talk therapy that was developed in the UK, where it is the recommended standard of care. It's also recommended in Germany. This improves cognition in people with dementia. And we have worked with the experts, with the originators now as well, to develop a digitized version of this. So we'll make it available to many more people. We have tested positive in the first pilot trials and are now doing further trials on this. And we'll be launching this as a class 1 medical device in the first version in Germany next year and in Denmark as well. And then we have a couple of additional technologies in our portfolio: computerized cognitive training and a memory test that has proven sensitive enough to our test is still in, rather it's based on a memory test that Oxford University developed that has proven sensitive enough to detect very early signs of dementia preclinically. And we have gamified this. We have then further developed it with Oxford, and it has shown positive. It has shown that it's doing similarly to the original test in elderlies, and we're now taking that further in clinical trials. Next slide, please. All of these technologies exist on a platform through which we can tailor them together into a therapeutics product. We're starting with dementia, but we're also interested in earlier phases, such as mild cognitive impairment, for example, subjective cognitive impairments. And all the technologies are relevant in these segments. Next slide, please. So we already have positive results from a number of clinical trials in related disorders that also have a high risk of turning into dementia, so in acquired brain injury and in mild to moderate dementia with 2 of our technologies. Next slide, please. And actually, we just recently got positive results on this test for identifying early symptoms with Oxford in the study on elderlies. And we have a number of other clinical trials that are ongoing. These are generally done in large grant-funded European projects. To date, we've raised around 10 million euros in European grant funding to develop these technologies and to make sure that we work with the experts and the patient organizations. So Alzheimer's Europe is in several of our projects here. Next slide, please. So the next big milestone for us is to bring the first class 1 clinical trial to the market. We're working on some of the newer technologies in terms of patenting and quality management processes, as well as part of the medical device certification. Next slide, please. So we're looking at this as a global market and global leadership. We estimate that the market for digital therapies within dementia is around $2 billion, that addressable market, and we're in a really leading position to enter that market. Next slide, please, or to take the leading position in that market. And a lot of pharma companies are coming into the digital therapeutic space, making large licensing deals, and that's also what we're aiming for. Next slide, please. Last year we partnered with Rox Health of Germany, a subsidiary of Roche, one of the biggest players in pharma, to bring our first product to the German market. We just got into the Biogen Accelerator to help do also work on the German market. And as you can see, we're a very experienced team with a lot of deep experience in both life sciences and bring health tech to the market, and in cognitive neuroscience. And we just IPO'd last year. So I'll end it there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kim. Very impressive story and development. And I forgot to mention that you're actually also part of the current batch of our Neurotech prize that we have set up together with Biogen. So we're
exactly
pitching for 100,000 euro in May, I think 3rd of May or so. So I wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
Quick question regarding the reimbursement. So you're addressing also the German market coming from Denmark, but addressing also the German market. Is the German DiGA reimbursement scheme something that is helpful for you, or is that not relevant in your case? I hope it's helpful, but just to double check.
So it's definitely helpful. That's one of the reasons we're looking at Germany, is both because of the DiGA and also because of the DiPA that is coming up in Germany. So that's definitely helpful. And the Biogen Accelerator is also access to some really strong mentors in that space. And I forgot to mention that what we're looking for now, we're constantly, even though we're a public company now, on NASDAQ First North here in Denmark, we're constantly looking for institutional investors and VC investors as well. We do have possibilities for direct issues and things like that.
Super. That's a clear request. So I hope many here in the audience feel attracted and will get in touch with you. Very good. Then let's proceed to another Neurotech prize company, also enrolled in the final batch of 10 companies to pitch for 100,000 euro. First prize 50,000 euro, second prize in May. The company is Neurocast from the Netherlands, presented by founder and CIO Levi Hofstee. Neurocast turn everyday daily digital interactions such as smartphone use into medically approved outcomes, enabling individual patients' performance monitoring in everyday life. And you guys aim to provide insights into neurodegenerative disorders such as MS, AD, or MDD. Levi, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, first of all, for letting me present here. My name is Levi Hofstee, and I'm here to tell you about Neurocast. And indeed, we specialize in measuring people remotely and in a non-invasive way. Click. Click, please, for next slide. We currently have a team of 24 strong with extensive knowledge in pharma, neuroscience, and tech. We have office location in Amsterdam and Boston, clinically validated product and paying customers in pharma. Next slide, please. So today I want to tell you about our moonshot mission. Since for me, this is not only a very important one, but above all, a very personal one. Click, please. Since my mom happens to be one of many people suffering from a neurodegenerative disease, and today nearly 1 in 6 has to deal with a chronic illness such as MS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or depressions during their lifetime. Click, please. And the radical solution that we are developing is making sure that we can do something that is currently not possible. And that is make sure that people can attune with the health of their brain anytime, anyhow, anywhere, and without any effort. And this is very important because none of these patients has to be sick in the first place. Click, please. The breakthrough technology that we are developing for that turns everyday, daily digital interactions into meaningful and actionable medical insights. And we do that completely unobtrusive with privacy embedded by design and available for all. And these 3 elements are at the core of our DNA and are at the opposite of how traditional tools currently allow us to monitor a person's health. Click, please. Because these tools take too much time, they are too subjective, too costly, too labor intensive, and are not capable of telling us how a patient is doing in his daily life. And of course, we have all seen the enormous digitization wave of these traditional tools. And currently there are over 350,000 healthcare apps, but the majority of all these active monitoring solutions doesn't have clinical validations. And the ones that are being used are often abandoned after 2 weeks. And who can blame the patients? Because if you have a good day, you have better stuff to do. And if you have a bad day, you don't want to be confronted with your illness even more. Click, please. So we started the rollout of our technology in pharma, after which we will expand to other markets in the coming years, such as payers, providers, and rolling out directly to patients. And what is striking about this rollout strategy is that at the beginning, the emphasis is on validation, and in the later phases, the emphasis is on onboarding large numbers of patients. Click, please. And within the pharma market, we compete for remote patient monitoring and real-world evidence market share. And these are the areas with the greatest impact on pharma, according to market leaders. And recent research amongst 200 pharma execs shows that RPM and RWE will bring about the biggest change in pharma in the upcoming years. Click, please. Of course, we are not the only ones active in this market. However, in-depth analysis of our competitive field shows that 98% of our competitors offer solutions that require active involvement from patients. And patients don't really want that. 70% of our competitors offer a single solution, and with our outcomes, you can do an array of things. And 45% of our competitors include hardware in their solutions, and the industry wants solutions that are easy to roll out. Click, please. So we are doing things differently. Our journey of turning everyday digital interactions into meaningful and actionable medical insights started at the device we all use the most during our day, our smartphones. You use them 50 to 80 times per day to email, browse, text, WhatsApp, or whatever else you do on your smartphone. Click, please. So to analyze all of these interactions, we've built NeuroKeys. And that is an app that replaces the standard keyboard on your phone with our intelligent NeuroKeys keyboard. And this allows us to analyze your digital signature. So we don't look at what you do because that is private, but how you do that. And this means that our users don't have to change anything about their daily routine. And in the meantime, we gather millions of data points. And we've built algorithms that translate those data points into actionable insights into a person's mental, physical, and social performance. Because we truly believe that this holistic approach is needed if you want real insight into how a patient is doing. And our solution is scalable and very easy to deploy. And in numerous clinical validation projects together with partners, we are validating all of our outcomes for various diseases. Click, please. So with the results of our algorithms, we can easily give doctors and researchers access to a continuous stream of validated real-world insights, where this overview is just one example of the many insights that we can provide. Click, please. So besides our clear focus on clinical validation and providing real insights, the truly passive data gathering approach is what really sets us apart. Patients don't have to do anything, or as we like to call it, set and forget. Anyone with a smartphone can participate, and contrary to the industry trend, 95% of our users are still on board after a year. Click, please. So for both pharma, payers, providers, and patients, our technology can deliver a 10x benefit. In pharma, this is mainly because with the use of our technology, they can do better and faster research, meanwhile putting less pressure on patients. We asked Deloitte to conduct research into what our pharma partners see as the most important added value of using our technology. And this ranges from improved patient centricity to better cost control and potential revenue uplift. And this year, we will reach 3 million in pharma revenue of our use in clinical trials. Click, please. The upcoming years are very important for us. We are expanding our research into new therapeutic areas. We started in MS, and we are expanding to Alzheimer's, MDD, and several other diseases. Click, please, to show the
Please come to an end, Levi.
Yes. And in addition to expanding that, we are also expanding our technology. Click, please. And in order to realize our rollout strategy, we are currently working on our Series A funding round of 12 million euros. And the consortium that we are forming for this is 80% complete. And if you would like to know more about our company or about our funding round, I kindly ask you to contact us. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There is no time for questions anymore because you have run over quite a lot. Thanks to everyone else who stick to the time, but Levi, nevertheless, was very interesting to listen to your pitch. Very well done.
Thank you.
Next or last pitch is Apptrace. We know Apptrace very well. Umar, you have been part of our wildcard team 2018. And since then, I think you have developed very well. Apptrace is located in UK and is a health tech startup using machine learning to transform how chronic and long-term health conditions are detected, monitored, and treated. Umar, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. So Abtrace is a company that is founded in the UK, and we essentially collect healthcare data from electronic health records, process it through various algorithms, including machine learning, and then provide it back to the clinician at the point of care so that they can make better, more effective decisions that increase the efficiency of care and make patients safer. My name is Umar Ahmed. I'm the CEO of Apptrace, and I'm a medical doctor by background. Next slide, please. So essentially, as a doctor, when I see a patient, I look in their record, and what I have time to do is to look at a tiny little segment of that record of all the data that is really available about the patient. And all of the important signal is hidden somewhere inside. And we know that there's a lot of unwarranted variation, and doctors and nurses don't have time to look at this with ever-rising demand. Next slide. And what machine learning can do is they can simultaneously look through that entire health record. And from within that health record, it might find things like this patient needs this test in order to make sure that they remain healthy. Or this patient may already have started to exhibit signs of something like colon cancer, and perhaps we should send them for a referral. And that's the potential that we think is possible. Next slide. So what we built is a platform that sits on top of existing electronic health record systems. It extracts the relevant data, processes it, and then delivers it. And the two use cases, first is to automate the looking after of patients with existing conditions, and then to go further and to detect the onset of new conditions that are already there, but haven't yet been recognized by the healthcare worker. Next slide. So our first product is both UK CA and CE marked. And what it does is it summarizes all the diseases, all the medications that a patient has, and says, today, this patient needs these tests. And so when they come to a healthcare professional, they get all the relevant tests at the point of a click. Next slide. And we're going further and looking at the early detection of disease. So we know that patients are often coming to their doctor over and over again when they could have been referred for cancer, and that for every month you delay that referral, you increase mortality by 10%. So we're processing the world's largest primary care data set using the NHS's cradle-to-grave health records with over 500,000 patients and in collaboration with a number of academic partners. Next slide. Our pilots have scaled across the country. We have 85 sites now, integrating with 96% of the healthcare records in the UK, which is a population of more than 60 million people, a number of different sites, and with plenty more to go. Next slide. And essentially where Abtrace sits amongst this competitive landscape is that we believe that we should target the proactive end of healthcare. Rather than reacting to a patient when they've already become sick, when they've started coming to hospital, or even when they're making that appointment with their GP, we need to start much earlier. That's where we can be much more effective. And that's where there's a much larger potential list of beneficiaries that we could impact. And that's what Apptrace is doing. So on the one hand, we are looking at the proactive end of the healthcare spectrum. And secondly, rather than trying to automate administrative workflows in the traditional robotic process automation, by employing clinical algorithms and processing clinical data, essentially looking at the data that a doctor has in order to make a decision, we can automate clinical workflows, and therefore we can bring much greater value to this approach. Next slide. So we've been building over the last few years our competitive our moat on this competitive landscape. So we established very early in our journey that free text is critical, and those that can access free text can make better algorithms. We spent a long time making sure that we were extracting patient data safely and using it only for the benefit of the patient and no other reason. And then we were able to therefore build health data partnerships across the NHS. Next slide. As part of that journey, we are ISO certified, CA marked, and have a number of other relevant certifications. Next slide. And this has been our journey from a fundraising point of view. So we've raised more than £4 million in a combination of a non-dilutive and a seed round last year. Next slide. And we've got an impressive team, and I could talk about our team for some time, but essentially it's a combination of doctors and machine learning experts who really built a product that is both cutting edge and built for healthcare workers by healthcare workers. Next slide. That's all for me.
Thank you. Very well done. Great pitch. And just a very quick question, because we are already running out of time. How important was the 1.5 million euro EIT Health funding to kick everything off?
Well, it's always great when you've got a bunch of people together and you get lots of pre-seed money. It allows you to invest in building a product for the long term, rather than trying to convert to revenue too early. And that's what we've been able to do. We've been able to build a product that addresses the complexity of this space and really aim for the stars. So it's been really helpful.
Thank you. And for us, it's great to see that this was very well invested money. So very much looking forward to the future success. Thank you. Thanks to everyone, all the 7 companies that have pitched today. Thanks also to everyone who listened. I hope that many investors and other startups, peers, colleagues have been listening. Please get in touch throughout the next 2 days, or I think the matchmaking portal is even open for a bit longer. So please take the opportunity to get in touch and keep in touch. With that, I'd just like to also remind everyone. I think throughout the day you might have seen the pitch, not the pitch, the teaser video on our COVID-19 movie that we have created at EIT Health. So there we summarized in a very nice report our contribution, or the contribution of EIT Health partners, mainly EIT Health supported startups, to tackle the COVID-19 pandemics. If you have missed the teaser, you can watch the whole film at eithealth.eu/spotlight. There you can find the special spotlight edition on the COVID-19 fall. And yeah, with that, I wish you all the best now for the upcoming 2 days at the 15th Annual European Life Science CEO Forum. The next 2 days give a lot of room for matchmaking and interaction. Of course, EIT Health is also participating there as a silver sponsor. And with that, thanks everyone. Thanks to the whole SAX team, and back to Thea. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.